We need you to give somebody a ride, leave people behind. That's what I was saying. That's why I wanted to wait. I didn't hear this. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:30, February 27th, 2018, and this is the American Fork City Council regular session. Our agenda has been posted on the state website in various places, and we meet here tonight. I think those that are on this body of this council, our staff, and those who have known Mayor Hadfield. As I was getting out of my truck to come in to this meeting today, I just learned that he had just passed away in his home, surrounded by his family. And so I hope that I can keep my composure tonight. He was a great friend and a great mentor to me personally. But in light of that, I would like to just at least for a moment just to observe a moment of silence, if we could. Thank you very much. We would like to recognize that this night that we have one of our council members that is absent physically, but is with us via electronic means. Councilmember Taylor. Are you there, Councilman Taylor?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So we have all 5 of us present, and we can conduct the business of the city tonight. We will follow the agenda as outlined. We will first start by standing, and I will lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance, after which we will have a prayer by Councilman Kevin Barnes, and then I will conduct the roll call. If we could all rise, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, this evening as we begin this American Fork City Council meeting, we pause to give thee thanks and acknowledge thy hand in our lives. We're grateful for this wonderful community, for all those who serve this community in any capacity, as employees, as volunteers, as citizens, or any other capacity. We're grateful for the goodness of the people who live here and the good things that happen in our community. We're grateful to live in this free country, and we acknowledge thy hand in its guidance. We're grateful for those who throughout history of this country have fought for and defended, often at the cost of their lives, the freedoms and the blessings that we enjoy. We're grateful to meet this night and discuss city business, items that pertain to the city itself, the organization, the employees, and the citizens. And we pray as we meet that we might have good, respectful dialogue, that the items that will be discussed properly, and that when decisions need to be made, that good decisions will be made that will benefit this community. We also acknowledge the passing of our former mayor, J.H. Hadfield. We remember him and the great service that he has given to our community, to his church, and to the nation as he served in the military. We pray for his dear wife and children and extended family members that they might be comforted at this time. And we pray that those of us who will interact with them in the future might bring them peace and comfort also. We thank thee again for all of our blessings. Pray for the other blessings thou hast for us, and we do this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman Barnes. I will now conduct the roll call. Councilmember Christiansen.
Here.
Councilmember Shelton. Here. Councilmember Barnes.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum and can conduct the business of the city. First on our agenda tonight is our second on the agenda is our 20-minute public comment period. We would welcome anybody that would like to address the mayor, the city council, or the senior staff to come forward at this time. And if you could, please make your comments brief, but we would like to hear from you. So if you could come forward at this time. Do you want
Say a word here
to turn that mic
about the
around
American
there?
campground. Pardon me? Hello, I'm not going to sing.
Sorry.
I don't get to stand on that side, huh? Well, now they got to look at my backside. That's not fun. All gut and no butt, they say. Okay. Anyway, we had a resident pass away when he received notice to leave the American campground. As a matter of fact, he was 96 years old, but I didn't personally know him. But so you could add him in your prayers as well, whenever you like. My name's Don Johnson. I've been there about 17 years. I read the notice here. Everybody is expressing concern for the welfare of the people who live there, as if they don't want to live in unsafe conditions. I think if they have to live in their car, you can be more unsafe. So that's what's going to happen here. A lot of people have been there a long time, and there aren't any other campgrounds around. You'd have to go almost 100 miles to get to a place that would take a trailer that's not any more than a few years old. I'd like to introduce a couple people so you get to know who some of my neighbors are, so I can give you an idea. Let them tell their story quickly. Debbie, would you like to come up? Or Vivian, you can come up also. This is Tracy's.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
My name's Tracy Conklin. I've lived there about 7 years. I have an older trailer, a 1972 vintage style trailer. I work across the street at the gas station, so I'm within walking distance. And I have literally tried so many ways to look for some place to live that will take my trailer, and I'm just out of luck. Either they won't take the model or year, which a lot of people are having problems with, or it's so expensive, there's no way I can afford some of the $580, $600 campgrounds. And at the trailer park, there's a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck, literally, to save up money for a first and last month's rent for an apartment or a house if they got together. It's almost impossible. You know, we have seniors living on fixed incomes. We have people on disability, a lot of construction guys that send their money home to their families to take care of them. And they gave us time, but for some people, and thank you them so much for giving us another 30 days. But for some people, it's going to take longer than 30 days to save up enough money, or some people don't even have cars and no way to move their trailers. So it will literally put people living in their cars. I've talked to a couple of them, and they're going to have to go live in their cars. And I think it's a shame in this day and age that we're going to make homeless people. And I just hope for your help, maybe giving people a little bit more time, assisting us in finding apartments or housing, and it would be a great service. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Vivian Freeman.
Thank you.
I have a 1979 Roadrunner fifth wheel. I have no way of moving it. It's the only place we have to live. We lived
Can't hear you too well. I don't know.
we lived in the car for quite a while. It's a 2001 Mitsubishi Galant with 3 kids and 2 cats in the back seat. And it's pretty crowded, and it gets cold. And right now, I use what little money I have to pay my rent, pay my electric bill. But if I was to get an apartment, I would lose everything. I would have to give up my trailer. I really don't want to. But no one will accept the 1979 trailer. They want 2000 or newer. And it's a little hard. And I have no way of even moving that trailer, let alone where to put it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I don't think Debbie wants to come up, but Bob will come up. But Debbie's been there for about as long as I have, and she's every day takes care of her grandchildren who live in, her son-in-law and daughter live in American Fork, and she'd have to move 100 miles away. That's going to make that impossible. And try to, and then also the fact that people that have, trying to get a job, if they move to a place like Nephi or Parowan or something, just a smaller town, it's going to be a lot harder to find a job. I'm certainly not going to commute from Nephi to be a 200-mile trip, whatever it is. This is Bob.
Okay, my name is Robert Cobb. I live in the campground as well. Down? I should have grown a little longer. I'm here to just simply say I support these people. Excuse me. These people, because I'm one of them, and I've been there for 7 years, living where I can get back and forth to some property that I do own but can't live on, and I take care of my animals and the business at hand. Now, I've put in about 34 years advocating for handicapped people, and I think that we need to recognize that we owe everybody support and a helping hand. That's it. I just wanted to say I support what these people are saying. I've been there. I've fought for people like this. That's it.
Yeah, I really don't have a dog in this fight, other than I put this off too long. Who passed away? I didn't quite hear.
It was our former mayor that was of 2 months ago, James H. Hatfield.
Oh, I don't know if I know him. anyway, yeah, my regards. But as Alexander Solzhenitsyn put it, the living outweigh the dead. That's when he published the Gulag Archipelago. Anyway, I don't see too many tears here. You know, I was very reluctant to stand up to pledge to that flag anymore. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the prayers. I'm sick of the long discussions and the eloquent orators and all this crap. If I was to pray and have any say in the counsel of God, put a match to it. Like I say, I'm sick of it. My parents come down here in the late 1800s, 1900s and formed this place. And you guys have ruined it. All for the American buck. Federal Reserve note, it ain't even a buck. How long is this going to go on? How many more people? Just push them out. I don't want to deal with them. Just go away, you know. Or even you push down the pulley place over there, all the trees. Push down the homeless from Salt Lake. I used to stay out there. I could get 5 minutes to myself, you know. It was okay when Savage Brothers had that for their own little country club, their shooting range. That's what they bought it for, you know. But they're the elite. They pay the taxes, you know. I don't know what this is over, but it's over money. And each person's going to blame somebody. What is it, over a statute, an ordinance? Is that what it is?
No, are you talking about American Campground?
The
Are you
campground.
talking-
Why are they coming down on the campground?
Well, I have a statement I would read, but we're here to
Yeah.
hear from you.
But
okay?
what I'm getting at is an ordinance that's being dug up out of the skeletons. Is that what it's about? Or
It's about safety.
safety?
Yes.
Oh, safety. All of a sudden, what are they going to burn themselves up?
That's one of the
Okay.
concerns.
So what are they going to do with the campground? Is it they can only live in there for 15 days or something?
You know, it was the campground was never intended to be a long-term facility.
No, I know that campground's been down there as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
And as long as Mark Wilson had it, which pays a lot of taxes, it was okay. Okay? Because Mark Wilson knows how to run the system. He gets the church people to pay their rent down there. He actually used a lot of guys down there to do his slave work and this and that. It was okay until they sold the property. Now all of a sudden, it's a nuisance. It's a safety hazard. Well, if you're going to do a safety hazard, I can just walk up where Arnold Liebelt's staying in that Allegro motorhome right up there. Okay, he can stay there. And there's another guy living in a camper. I mean, we can go around to this city and be pretty busy rounding up these safety hazards. We're going to protect the world, put their seat belts on as we usher them out and throw them away, you know. I don't know what to say, but all you guys disgust me. I mean, you really do. You sit there with your nice ties on, and that's all I got to say. Why don't the church build the Nauvoo house or something with all their money and help them get a place?
See, can you repeat your name again? Sorry, I just
Dean Spencer.
Dean Spencer.
And my Aunt Betty was the official
Okay.
AF historian.
Okay.
Of course, we're not too good with Aunt Betty, but you know, she doesn't mention my name much, but because we're the black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, you know, all you're doing is building Babylon, and all your crap goes down to where I used to live, and it stinks.
Could I say this, Mr. Spencer, before you leave? You mentioned tears, and that we should be in tears. I just want you to know that I think that the decisions that have been made on both parties have been heartfelt.
I'll bet they have.
Okay, you might not see that compassion, but
I
there.
don't see the compassion at all.
Okay,
Get your crocodile tears.
all right.
Yeah, the letter here sounds nice, but in reality, of course, everybody really knows. I wish people just admit money's kind of more important than the actual people. I believe most people actually, even though they don't admit it to themselves, it's always been shown to be the fact. This is ridiculous. You know, it's like, oh, yeah, we'll try to help. You're not going to do anything unless somebody puts the fire to your feet. I don't know whether the affordable housing, I understand it's a 4-year wait. That means there's not enough affordable housing if you have to wait 4 years. I don't know if that's a state-run program or if the mayor or the city administrator could put the fire under anybody's feet on that and get some of these people help they need. I know I'll be okay, but I can't allow these people to be thrown out in the street. It's ridiculous. Vivian has a disabled child she has to take care of. She shouldn't be living in a car, let alone a 79 trailer. I'm sure every one of you here have a little better living situation than that. So, you know, you can say you got compassion, but you got to show it. You can't just say it. A little piece of paper doesn't mean anything. You want to speak, Debbie?
Just about what you just got through saying. Hi, my name is Debbie Smelly. I've lived at the RV park. It'll be 19 years come July. I can't believe it myself. I lost my husband in 2004. We had moved up in 99. He was disabled. But I lost him in 2004, and I said, as long as I felt safe there, I would stay. And I'm still there. I understand that the gentleman who owns the park has a right to do whatever he wants to do with it, and I understand the laws. It's just, it was hard hearing we had to be out in 15 days. That was the really rough part for me. But before I forget, I did want to mention Evelyn that spoke to you earlier. She forgot to mention that she has 2 children, her grandchildren, that she has custody of that are special needs. And Woody was telling you a little bit about them. And it's hard to hear they have nowhere to go. I do have family here. But it's been tough seeing my neighbors have it a lot harder than I do. We just need affordable housing here in our town. It's a wonderful town, American Fork, you know, and for senior citizens we're all on fixed incomes, and we need to have something that's affordable. I am on the list for affordable housing, but it'll be 3 years in July. And you can't call down there and find out where you are on the list. They'll tell you, they send me a letter, you know, every so often. But it's nothing you can plan for because it's just as they come up. I just wish that could be changed. I would hate to see us have to build a shelter here in town to cover the homeless. I'd rather see them all have a home. Thank you very much for listening.
The only other thing I want to say is this would be a good one. I was kind of looking for a compassionate lawyer. That would be an oxymoron. Anyway, I'm probably going to write up an injunction, you know, temporary injunction, and file an affidavit of what's called irreparable harm. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with that. But it's just a stop in action. Now, I expect that the city, since they waited since 1980 to worry about this ordinance, wouldn't be averse to waiting another 6 months or more, maybe even a year. But the question is, would Geo Investments, who owns the property, be willing to do it? Maybe they're just going to tear it down and put up a parking lot or whatever, as the old Joni Mitchell song says. That's what I suspect. So I don't know how far I go with this injunction. Nobody wants to be that adversarial with their buddies in the courtroom, I guess. But I can do it myself. So I'd like somebody here to step up and say they're going to see if they can look into this. And, I mean, not just look into it, but get it done where somebody can come down there and help some of these people that really need help. Is there anybody here that's willing to say something on their behalf and do something? That's my question.
You know, I'll answer that if I can, if I might. Okay, and that is, I mean, I have a prepared statement here from the city, but right now it doesn't seem to. Oh, I'm sorry. It's very factual, and I think I'm just going to spare the facts of it all. But there's a copy of it in the room, and if you'd like a full copy. But if I could just read the end of this statement, and that is, it's a statement that the city has come out with just today. Okay. But I'd like to just read the bottom of it. It is, the city is working with the owners of the campground to give residents additional time to find homes. It is the city's understanding that American Campground has given residents an additional month today, or a month to obtain housing. I heard that.
Yeah, you've got a 79 trailer, you got $5,000 to buy. I mean, that's not even possible, but let's say somebody would find that.
Well,
And then you got an $800 income, you pay $500 a month rent. You're not going to be saving. There's not going to be a lot of disposable income there.
yeah. Well,
And
the
that
city
kind of stuff's
supports
good.
this extension and appreciates the owner's efforts to bring the campground into compliance with safety.
If that's what's going to happen. But then, of course, the price would go up significantly, I'm quite sure.
What's that?
And none of these people would be able to stay there, and the price would go up. So that's irrelevant to my. I'm sure he'll have a nice place, whether it's a automotive shop or whatever it is.
Well, we as a city will continue to work with the owners to provide the residents a reasonable amount of time to make living arrangements. Okay.
Yeah, if I put the injunction through, maybe it'll buy me some time. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be denied. I don't know, but somebody ought to. Does anybody know whether the affordable housing is a state-run? It's not a city thing, I'm sure of that. But well, how come American Fork City is not? We fired some of these developers and had plenty of money to put in some of this affordable housing. I mean,
we have several within our city of affordable housing, but I know that they are under.
Yeah, well, maybe they got
County.
their nephew out of their parents' basement, their brother's basement or something. That's fine. We need some. These people actually need something. Instead of everybody, what do we call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Nepotism.
Yeah.
It does go on everywhere. Anybody, nobody's going to deny that. I mean, these people really need some kind of help. So.
Okay.
That's about all I got to say right now. I'd like to have another meeting sometime in the near future. See if we don't see any results, I want to come back here and see if anybody's got anything to offer. Maybe come up with some suggestions. These people have been living here 20 years. They're your fellow citizens here. Pay the taxes, buy their gas here. Patronize the businesses just as much as anybody else. In fact, probably, in a way more so. Well, anybody that has a job here obviously is not going to be able to commute. There are no places within 100 miles. Or Heber maybe, but that's probably full now, I heard, and even Nephi now, so literally have to move to St. George or something. Not a good thing if you're 66 years old, have grandchildren, and you'll be isolated. You'll be put in a situation which is psychologically, whether it's real or imagined, it's like a situation of abandonment. It's ridiculous. Shouldn't happen to anybody. Think about it if it happened to you. They love their families. Their lives revolve around their families, and they don't want to be away from them. Certainly families who are busy, such as in Debbie's case where he babysits for her grandchildren, they can't be taken off and driving to Nephi or St. George or even Heber every other day and visiting. It's just that's why they need help. If you think about it, you understand. It's pretty obvious now. I think I've said. I may have left something out, but that's all I have to say. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any others that would like to make public comment?
Mayor, thanks for letting me come up. My name is Josh Walker. I'm the president of the American Fork Chamber. We noticed on social media this issue that came up. We have some of our chamber members, the business community is fairly concerned about how quickly this is happening, and we are appreciative of the management of the facility that they're giving that month extension. A little bit of background. So my father had created a company that built tiny homes. Sorry. he had a vision of creating affordable housing for people just like you. You know, they weren't large homes, but they were homes that would be available. And we actually looked at American Campground lot to see if that's something. We met with council to talk about rezoning to be able to create a tiny home community. And unfortunately, my father, passed away unexpectedly. And so all of our plans quickly went away. But I do want you to know, we had met several times with Habitat for Humanity. And I don't know if you're aware of them, but they try to build homes. Mainly, it's been for families. But a couple of months ago, I got a call from Kenna Matthews, who is the CEO of Habitat for Humanity here in Utah County. And they are now exploring the idea of creating a tiny home community where they would build affordable housing for single older people that are in need of this type of housing. In fact, they were just at a show for tiny homes. The issue that they're facing is to be able to find a city that's willing to zone an area for a community like this. But your voices aren't being ignored. It's just, it takes time, and I apologize that you are in a situation now where you don't have the time that it takes. But your plight isn't being ignored. I wish that the solution was here right now. But there are people that are very concerned about, because you're not the only community in Utah County or in Utah that has this situation. And it's being talked about at high levels about rezoning and creating places for people to have this type of affordable housing. From the chamber standpoint, we have businesses that are willing to help move. We had a couple of our chamber members go out to the campground today to see the situation. One of our chamber members is here today, Joe Phelan. He owns Temp Rental. And another of our chamber members owns World Class Auto. Obviously, this is a community issue where we need to come together as a community to try to come up with solutions and help each other out. And it's good that we have another month. We were concerned that we were going to have to try to move everybody in 2 days. So I think that as a business community, as a city, and the people that are living here in the American Campground, I think we can come together and try to come up with some short-term solutions, and then possibly work with Habitat for Humanity and some of these other organizations that you are their target audience. They know the need, and they are trying to come up with solutions. It's just having to get the funding to build those types of homes and build those types of communities. But it's not hopeless. People do care. Unfortunately, we have to be patient sometimes. And so that's about all I have to say. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Josh. Any other public comment period this time?
Hey, my name's Rob Steffen, local malcontent. Sorry, nervous. Yeah, I've just been on Facebook talking about this issue, and the last couple of days I've met most of the people back there. I recognize a lot of people, and I just want to say that over the past few days, I've met some really incredible people. back here, that we're facing a very dire situation. And I'm glad at least that it's become relatively less dire, but it's still a problem, right? Like the month helps. That's good, but it's still an issue, and it's still going to require attention, and it's still going to require the city, the community. Like when I say the city, yeah, the government, but the people, right? The citizens. And so I just hope that the news today was good. The news about the extension that's a good thing. But let's not pretend that like it's totally solved now, because it isn't. And so let's make sure that everyone still gets the help they need to get through this situation, because it's still rough, right? Like one of the holes in the parachute is sewn up, but it's still got to land. So I just wanted to say that. I also wanted to. I don't know what happened. I don't know where the month extension came from, but however it happened, whoever was involved, like, thanks. That's good. That's a good thing. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Rob.
Yep.
All right, any other public comment period at this time? All right. Hearing none, we will close the public comment period, and we will move on to the city administrator's report.
Mayor, I don't have anything to report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, council reports. I'll start with you, Council Member Christiansen.
Oh, it's so much fun to go first. We have the resignation of Colleen Eggett, our library director, and she's moved on to have the honor of being the state librarian. She will be very hard to replace. She's done a lot of good. I'd like to mention a few of her contributions. That she brought the library from being analog to digital, changed the checkout procedures to make it a lot easier and faster, weeding out some of the old books so that the tags could be in the new books, giving more staff time because they didn't have to check out things individually. She encouraged e-book and e-audiobook usage. As a result of these things and just general growth, circulation is up over the previous year, and there's been more programming. The library served 8,538 youth in story times, reading programs, and other events. That's 79% of the youth in the community. The wireless access has increased, and the historical records room has been largely digitized. Those are a lot of accomplishments in the 3 years that she's been here. We really appreciate her and the contributions, and appreciate the library for serving the community.
Thank you for that report. Councilmember Shelton.
Nothing to report at this meeting, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Barnes.
Thank you, Mayor. Report on a couple of my assignments. February the 14th was Valentine's Day, and our faithful veterans had a dinner that night. It was Valentine's Day. Most people cancel on Valentine's Day things, but they went ahead with their monthly meeting. They had a nice potluck dinner. And when I got here tonight, I realized I had not received some information that I had requested. They honored a number of different people, including a member of the American Fork Fire Department. You remember that, Chief? Who was it?
Christian.
Coulter Christian. For some service that he had rendered, they honored a policeman. I think he was from Linden. and some other people, and they had a little contest with some youth, and they had the winners of those different age categories. I think they went every year from about 12 to 18, and they had a winner from each grade, and they recognized them. It was just a good, fun night where they were able to celebrate and acknowledge some good things that had happened in the community. And of course, the VFW provides a lot of good service to this community, and most notably in the case of funerals, where they're there to perform the gun salutes and the honor things of the military. And as a community and as a beneficiary of some of that stuff, it's a great organization, and we appreciate their service now as well as their service in the military. Also attended last week a meeting with the Historical Preservation Committee. The committee's alive and doing well and doing the things that they've been chartered to do. They had one home that they reviewed and approved through the process that takes place there. And other than that, not much. Thank you, Mayor.
Sounds like you've been very busy, Councilman Barnes. Councilmember Carroll.
I think we're going to leave here, so sorry everybody had a lot to do. So.
Okay.
Got to give different people rights. Sorry for
He's gone.
I don't write things down. I forget them. He wasn't there. I think I was the only one that was there. Last week, the Park Tax Committee had their, I'm going to call it their annual kickoff meeting. I don't know if it has an official title or not, but it was to inform people that want to apply for grant money from the park tax of the process and the deadlines. The meeting was well attended. From what I could tell, there was a good diversity of people and organizations there interested in applying for that money. So from a personal point of view, I think the park tax is a great thing. I think it's benefited the city. And based on what I saw that night, I think we'll have some very well qualified organizations and applicants and projects to look at here in the next little while. And so if any of you are interested in that or anything, get a hold of members of that committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Carroll.
Okay, I do have a few things to report, Mayor, but I just can't help but say that it's really hard to speak and go on with our business with the heartbreaking things that people are saying. It's really hard for me to speak and act like nothing has happened with Mayor Hadfield passing away. I just don't work that way where I just go on as normal. But I will try to give my report, and what I have prepared is to tell the council and the public that we were able to meet with our redevelopment consultant and talk about some future plans and some things that we have done in the past and make some strategy with him. And in the past 2 weeks, I've also had 2 Still Days meetings. One was a meeting with the Brigham City Chamber head, and the Brigham City Chamber also does their city festival. So it was really interesting to talk to her to see how they were able to organize things, and she did mention over and over, it's crazy, it's crazy, it's crazy. That's what she said. Oh, and she did also say that they did a lip sync as one of their activities, and they made all of the city council and mayor do a lip sync. So just watch for that.
I think they tried that a few years ago with the Miss American Fork pageant, and no one showed up to do the lip sync. So just FYI.
Okay, and the last thing on Still Days is that we have our kickoff meeting tomorrow with all of our volunteers that we have so far, and we're really looking forward to that, to see what it'll kind of be like our first big coordination meeting with everybody, and hopefully that will be really the indication of what holes we need to fill. If you hear of anybody who would like to volunteer for Still Days, we're looking for volunteers, of course.
Thank you for that report, Councilmember Carroll. Councilmember Taylor, do you have anything to report?
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate about the park meeting that Kevin outlined very well. The thing that's important for everyone to realize is that that meeting is mandatory. In order to submit for those park dollars, that meeting on the 21st was mandatory, and that was announced last council meeting. That was also posted in multiple spots around the city. So there was a good turnout. I was unable to be there, but I understood there was a good turnout, and what Kevin confirmed what Kevin had said. So people are paying attention to that. I, along with Kevin, believe that that has been a tremendous benefit for our city. I think from our retreat and being able to listen to the surveys and different things, I think that has been something that has and will build our community, just in the small things that have been done already. So we appreciate all the efforts that have gone into that. And then, much like Councilmember Carroll, it's difficult with all of the things that are going on, and I want to emphasize that though we adhere to policy and to statutes and the things by law that we are asked to, much emotion and much deep thought goes into the things that take place, and the safety of individuals is never out of our minds. And so while there was much heartfelt input given tonight, that is very much taken into consideration, and we are trying to act in the best interest of all of those involved while abiding by those things that we swore to uphold. So, and then finally, I just want to say how much I love and appreciate J.H. Hadfield, certainly as the mayor, but as a dear friend for a number of years, someone who lived in his neighborhood, and I will always remember the kind and decent man he was. He conducted my grandmother's funeral, and his compassion and his decency as a man and as a leader will always be something that I will remember, and I will hold dear his friendship and my time being spent with him, and certainly our prayers out to his dear wife Elaine and their family. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you for that report, Councilmember Taylor. You know, I have a few things, but they have been completely lost in the emotion of this meeting, both what I heard prior to and during this meeting. But I would just like to, I thought of what could I say about Mayor Hadfield that just pay respect to him. He's been known by many titles, you know, in his lifetime. It seemed like the mayor title just came real easy. I'm having to earn it every day, but I think with Mayor Hadfield, it just came the day of his office. And he just had a great way about him. He loved this city. But if I could say one thing that I noticed about him, and this would be the highest tribute that I could pay to him, I think, and that is that no matter what meeting I was in with him, if his wife called, he picked up the phone. He picked up the phone. And I know how he loved Elaine. And I know how he loved his family, because he would always talk to me about his grandkids and things. And so, of all the titles that he'd be known by, I'm certain that the one that he cherishes most is that of husband and father. And that will be the one that I'll remember him by. And so I've still got to come to grips with my emotions, but I had a deep love and respect for Mayor Hadfield. And so that is the mayor's report this night. We will now move on to the common consent agenda, consisting of three things: approval of the February 8th and 9th, 2018 budget workshop minutes, approval of the February 13th, 2018 work session minutes, and approval of the February 13th, 2018 city council minutes. I understand there's been one correction to them.
Yes, in the workshop meeting, we needed to correct a consent column to American Fiber Inc.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the common consent agenda with the amendment that was outlined?
So moved, Mayor.
So moved, Mayor.
All right. Motion by Councilmember Shelton. Can I take that as a second, Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Okay. Seconded by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Christiansen.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. Common consent agenda passes. We have several action items. The first one on our agenda is ratification of city payments from February 6th, 2018 to February 20th, 2018, and approval of purchase requests over $25,000. Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the city payments from February 6th to February 20th, 2018, and approval of the purchase request over $25,000.
Thank you for that motion, Councilmember Barnes. Can I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Christiansen. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a roll call vote on city bills for payment. Councilmember Christiansen.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. Action item number 2 is approval of appointments to the Library Board, the Water Management and Conservation Committee, and the Fox Hollow Golf Course Committee. Looking out, and I don't think they're here, but I'm going to name them. They've become highly recommended, and I would recommend them to you for ratification. And that is Joyce Adams to serve on the Library Board, term ending 2021. Ernie John to serve on the Water Management and Conservation Committee, term ending 2022. John Henshin on the Water Management and Conservation Committee, term ending 2023. John Sheesh on the Water Management and Conservation Committee, term ending 2023. And Judy Dixon for the Fox Hollow Golf Course Committee, term ending 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the appointments as presented.
Thank you, Councilmember. Motion by Councilmember Shelton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Carroll. Any discussion? I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Christiansen.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 3, review and action on a Class A beer license for Target located at 608 West Main Street. If you've been by Target lately, they have done a renovation to be of a more service, full grocery store from what I understand. I've been inside of it, but and as such, they would like to sell alcohol and obtain a beer license. So that's what I know. They don't have a representative here, I don't think. All right. Is there a motion to approve an action for a Class A beer license for Target?
I move to approve a Class A beer license for Target located at 608 West Main Street.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Carroll. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Shelton. Any discussion?
I think, Mayor, you confirmed this, but this is new. They have not had this in the past. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Where's Kyle? Kyle could tell me that. Is that correct, Kyle?
That's correct.
Yeah. All right, I have a motion and a second. I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Christiansen.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. Action item number 4, review and action on a performance in lieu of agreement with Woodside Homes of Utah, LLC regarding actual construction in lieu of providing of an improvement construction guarantee associated with Stone Creek Plat A. Is there any questions that you have for staff on this item?
Mayor,
Mayor, move to approve the performance in lieu agreement with Woodside Homes of Utah LLC for Stone Creek Plat A and authorize the mayor to execute the documents.
Thanks for that motion, Councilmember Carroll. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Christiansen by a hair. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Christiansen.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. The voting is unanimous. Action item number 5, review and action on an agreement for the J.T. and W.C. Thompson addition annexation consisting of 1.048 acres and located at 1134 East, 300 North.
I had a chance to review the packet and the information provided. Didn't have any further questions or concerns, so I'll move to approve the agreement for the JT and WC Thompson addition annexation consisting of 1.048 acres located at 1134 East, 300 North.
Motion by Councilman Shelton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Barnes. Any discussion on the motion?
Just quick clarification. This is just another one of those little pieces of ground that had never been annexed into the city. But it's pretty well surrounded by city and everything else, and it's just the standard kind of an annexation.
Correct.
That's what I thought. Wanted to make sure.
Yep.
I had a question along the same lines. Is it surrounded by professional office zoning? I didn't get a chance to look at that map.
Kind of mixed. I mean, you've got the, I'm going to let Adam, but you got a few homes that are there, but as the hospital has expanded and medical office space has expanded, that's kind of been the...
Yeah, so as that area is further developing, we are seeing more professional office, especially right on that corner of 3rd North and 11th East. So, yeah.
But there are houses around it.
There are,
Kind
but
of to the north and to the east.
yeah,
right
across
now.
the street to the north, there's a home. Now to the northwest, that's under construction as a professional office area itself.
To the east, it's homes.
Yeah, it is residential, but you can see as the area further redevelops
Right,
and
it's
develops, the
just kinda
professional
creepy.
offices
It's
going up
kinda
to that 3rd North. Yep.
All right. Do I have a did I have a motion and a second on that? Okay. Thanks for keeping me straight. All right, any other discussion? If hearing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Christiansen.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting is unanimous. Action item number 6 is review and action on an agreement with the Holland Drake and Bird annexation consisting of 16.251 acres and located in the area of 750 West, 400 South. Any questions for our planner tonight on this annexation?
Mayor, again, having a chance to read the packet, not have any further questions or concerns, I'll move to approve the agreement for the Holland Drake and Bird annexation consisting of 16.251 acres and located in the area of 50 West, 400 South.
Thank you. Motion by... Thank you. Motion by Councilmember Shelton and a real quick second by Councilman Taylor. That's good. Hearing none, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Christiansen.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting is unanimous. Item number 7, review and action on an agreement for the Dixie Froughton addition annexation consisting of 0.821 acres and located in the area of 870 East and 300 North. 30 North, excuse me. So 870 East, 30 North. Any questions on this annexation?
Mayor, I move to approve the agreement for the Dixie-Froughton Addition annexation consisting of .821 acres and located in the area of 870 East 30 North.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll and second by Councilmember Christiansen. Any discussion on the motion? All right, I'll go to a roll call vote. Councilmember Christiansen.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. Action item number 7 is a review and action on an agreement for the Dixie-Froughton Addition annexation. Oh, never. Did we do that one? Yeah. Okay, I forgot to mark it. Number 8, review and action on a resolution approving comprehensive amendments to the transportation element of the American Fork City General Plan. We're going to bring Scott up for the, oh, there he is. Scott, if you could kind of get us started on this.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, what we have before you is a request to have you review and take action on this item, which makes amendments to this plan. This was a plan that we discussed in the work session, I guess last week. Since then, we have met with the Planning and Zoning Commission. They met Wednesday of last week, and at that meeting, they unanimously recommended approval that this be approved. They did have a few corrections that they wanted us to make, some comments that they had made on it. Their comments mostly centered around things like how they had noticed that a couple of the figures referred to, maybe one example is the 2012 edition of the land use plan. They said, yeah, you ought to make sure that you put the more recent one that is officially adopted. And of course, that makes sense. So those changes have been made that the Planning Commission requested. We did miss I got a couple of errors from Councilwoman Christiansen that we need to make still. A couple of things that we need to do. One place where it says north, where it should say south, or I got that reversed. Where it says one direction, it should say the other. And so there are a few places like that. This is a living document. There may be a few things where, as one of us is reading it a month or two from now, we might notice something else like that. I would encourage, if you do see something like that, of that level, of that magnitude, to please let us know. We can make those changes and follow that direction. Those are things that are not of consequence that would prevent you from being able to adopt this. So we do have tonight Kevin Croshaw also and John Dorney again with us. They are from Horrocks Engineers. They helped prepare this and brought it to the point where we feel we can take it to you for formal adoption. So I'm prepared to answer questions you may have. We have them also as a resource to answer questions. And with that, that's pretty much all we have. Again, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like us to be aware of.
I just have one question and then one comment. I'm guessing that this will be posted on the city website in its entirety sometime somewhere. Anybody in the city that's having trouble going to sleep some night, pull this puppy up and read it. Actually, I thought just for fun I would really try and read and understand it, and I loved it. It was really interesting to me, and I compliment anybody whose fingerprint is anywhere on this document. For what it's worth, I think it's a job well done. It's pretty hard to see in the future and to outguess what's going to happen. That's my first comment. Second comment is having had a visit with a member of the Planning Commission after the meeting was held, it was my understanding there was some public input there and some concern about it. And if I understood this right, I just want to make sure everybody understands this is, as he put it, a 30,000-foot look at what the future is going to be. It's not the detail of every road and every stop sign and every intersection, et cetera, et cetera. It's a living, working document, as you said, kind of a guide in my mind is the way I would say it. So as people look at it and they read it or try and understand it or whatever, realize it is projections and it's a working document, not set in stone. And I think as we move forward in the upcoming years, it covers the next 30 or 40 years, or I won't be around to see the end of it, but it's out there quite a ways. So I think people just need to be aware this is a plan, not a cemented object. Thank you, Mayor.
I appreciated reading that too, and I thought it had a very good vision. I would be interested to know, because I wasn't, can you summarize what the changes have been? Major changes?
Councilman Christiansen, I can, and I'd also maybe like to kind of defer, particularly, especially to our colleagues at Horrocks. I can add in, there's quite a few things. A lot of the changes really dealt with the new roads and the plans in the undeveloped areas of town, the parts out of the town, where we feel there should be collectors, minor collectors, and the general network down there. That's where a lot of the substance of the change was. But maybe for more specifics, I'll let you arm wrestle in terms of which one of you want to come up. But why don't you both come on up? I would just be available. Sure. And kind of summarize a little better.
John Dorney with Horrocks Engineers. His fingerprints, Kevin Croshaw, is all over this, so he's the main author. Yeah. So if you're going to fall asleep, it's his fault. But if you like it, it's also his. I've attended the council session, work sessions, and Kevin has gone to the planning commission. So if you want to know more about what happened in planning commission, I probably defer to Kevin, and he made the changes, if that's okay.
All right, thanks, John. So hopefully you guys didn't fall asleep. I might have fallen asleep a couple of times. But so if you want to go to, I think it's the first page of the executive summary, we kind of have a, I know you pulled up the map, and but so we kind of have a bulleted list of the main items that we changed, and the planning commission and city staff, they've done a really good job of also going through the document and giving us a lot of different changes back and forth. But kind of the main, and you'll see on your screen here, kind of the main things that we changed was, so every couple of years or so, MAG, which is the Mountain Land Association of Governments, they come out with the new travel demand model, which is how we project and look at future traffic. And so we essentially took what was currently adopted and looked at this new model and kind of updated to make sure what the city is planning is still good, right? Making sure the traffic projections and essentially how they update the models, they look at, you know, the most current land use and general plans and of all the cities throughout the Wasatch Front, and they update this. And so we took the model and just kind of reassured what the city was looking for. The current master plan was still okay today, and then city staff also inputted to us or gave us information on what changes to the roadway network we're looking at based on development. Other things we looked at, that kind of takes care of the first 4 bullets. The other thing that we did is we took out the traffic calming section. That is its own standalone document the staff has, as well as I'm trying to remember when it was adopted, but we also separated out the impact fee facilities plan that was adopted with the impact fee analysis last year. So those are kind of the big main items that were changed.
There was a couple of things I wanted to just mention. I think that in there it has reference to some older things about Utah County Boulevard, at least the version I was reading. And now that it just maybe updating that language, because it says when it's completed, it'll be turned over to the state, you know, just kind of bringing that up to date where it's probably already has taken place, right? The other thing that I noticed on there is the $700 million price tag associated with the improvements. As you look at it and you go to the 2040 level of service map or predicted that's there, is that the right way to put that? There's a map in there that says projected levels of service at 2040. And if we look at where the areas are red or the problems are at, as I took a look at it, most of those are on state-owned roads. That's going to be First East. It's going to be Fifth East to State Street. And so I think it's going to be incumbent upon us to work very close with our elected officials, with UDOT, to ensure that the right planning goes into place to bring in the dollars to support increasing that level of service from what would be deemed as an F, I think is what it had it as, to a D, right?
Yep.
To bring that up to at least a D level. The other thing that I noticed in there is, we have a lot going on in the south end of town, and it's a blank canvas, right? And we're trying to plan where roads go. And I think right now there's a MAG study that's going to be done on the Vineyard Connector, I can't ever get which one it is, but the Vineyard Road that's being discussed. And so I believe that'll be coming out at the end of this year, Brad. Is that what they're hoping for?
It's budget for, like they said, 6 to 8 months.
Okay, so somewhere in that neighborhood, and I think that'd give us clear direction. So I don't think by adopting this tonight, it's putting in stone, this is the actual roadway, because we've got a regional study that's going to be done, and I believe UDOT's going to be a partner in that study to try to help determine exactly where that goes. Usually MAG has public meetings as part of those studies and get public input, so anyone here that's very interested in that, I would suggest coming to those and being a part of those meetings. I think that's where, for lack of a better term, the rubber's going to meet the road as far as some of these major alignments on that south end of town are going to line up. 200 South, I think, is going to be another major roadway that we're really going to need to take a look at. That's going to be Brad and I have had many discussions on this. I really think that the growth that's projected down there, particularly in the last work session, is we just saw one project of many that's looking to come in there. We got to make sure we have the infrastructure to handle it, but also can be able to do it in a way that can strive to bring a balance to all property owners down there, and that's going to be almost an impossible thing to be able to do, but as best as we possibly can. And then my last comment has to go to the roadways on the bicycle map. Can you bring that up? I know we're not dealing with that tonight, but it's one thing that Councilman Taylor and Frost have heard me echo before, and so I'm just bringing up old ghosts from past, if that's okay. On that,
Vendlin loves to pull up bicycle paths.
that's right.
It's part of the plan.
So Horrocks did a great study for us. I can't remember. It's been 3, 4, maybe 5 years now. Talked about where we had gaps existing in infrastructure as far as sidewalks and alternative paths of transportation. I really wanted to focus on the 200 East map area there, from 3rd North up to 7th North, and even up to 980 North. We just got done putting in that trail system on that west side of the golf course. And 200 East is used, as I've talked to many people in that area, by elementary school kids going to Forbes Elementary School that walk down that way. And we've got open ditches, and we've got some parts of the side of the street that have sidewalks, some that don't. My thought is this. We see this purple line that's going just to the west of 200 East there. And part of that trail's been finished, the other part hasn't. I've advocated and proposed, and maybe we need to look at this as a study coming up in the next couple years, realigning that, or even making a second trail that would go down 2nd East, and MAG funds would be available for it at that point. And the way that MAG funds determines priorities is trying to provide connectivity. Is that a fair statement, John, to use? So the other thing to look at there is going down 700 North. If we put a trail in there, 700 North is another road that has no shoulder to it on that western end of 700 North. And as we connect 740 to 700, we're going to increase traffic on 700, I believe. And that would help us get funding to add that connectivity. So perhaps as we're looking for funding for other projects, I know we brought up sidewalks. I know we're not adopting it tonight, but I'd really like to push, is that an idea, and then try to go for funding for it. It would connect us to the river trail, it would connect us to the golf course trail, and it would connect us to the 3rd North trail. I think that'd give you some arguments for some funding. Sorry, thanks for being patient. And John, thanks for your patience. I've, over the last 6 months, really leveraged your time well, so thank you for taking time and answering questions.
I do have a couple of questions. Mine are easy.
Well, I hope so.
I did also want to say that after, because I have read many engineering documents, this is surprisingly readable. This is very readable. So
Yes.
somebody's a good writer over there. I think this was noted somewhere, and I can't recall. But did the numbers, the modeling, take into account the fact that people that are living close to the train station, the population will increase, but they won't be driving on the roads as much?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was part of the modeling. And then this is a process question, and I'm sorry that I didn't ask this ahead of time because it doesn't need to be here, but I thought I saw something about the Planning Commission seeing this later, like again, and is there a public comment period during that? I think it was in March or something I saw it coming back up, or has that changed, or maybe I've misunderstood?
Councilwoman Carroll, what the Planning Commission did is in their discussion, and I hope this is maybe what you're referring to, is they wanted to make it clear, I guess, amongst themselves and in their communications with us that this is not a document that now it's done, we put it on the shelf, and they'll never see it again. That it is something that we can, at any time, the council, the staff, the Planning Commission can bring up and discuss an item or make a change or a modification, but there wasn't anything specific. We want to have a hearing in March or a hearing in, it was just kind of a general comment. That's how I remember it. David, am I remembering anything incorrectly?
Let me chime in there. So the Planning Commission actually visited this issue a couple of times already. The last meeting they had last week actually was a public hearing. So they held a public hearing, they took public comment, then they also gave their proposed changes to the document, which Horrocks then updated. So that's why it's being forwarded to you, since that public hearing has been held, and now it's up to the council to take action.
One other correction, we got the bike map up there. Sorry again to go back to it, but we also, as a council, I thought we vacated the trail that went down behind the IFA building. And this is still showing that as needing to be done. And so I just want to make sure that as development occurs in there and things of that nature, and we had, I thought, talked about putting that down west on 700 North and down 900 West. And so as we're talking about different developments that are going in there, I think we need to update that as well. So maybe this is something to work on in the next year or two. I don't think it'd take a lot to update it and to have some comment on it, but just some food for thought.
And I guess I'll also add to that. If any of your comments you guys have, I know we're taking them here, but if you want to get that to city staff, I mean, once it's adopted, we will make any final corrections that you guys see are needed. So it's not like as soon as it's adopted, we're not going to touch it anymore either. So make sure that gets to, I think the best way would be to give it to staff, and staff will relay it down to us, and then we'll get you guys one final document with all your corrections. And then
Real quick, in response to your comment regarding MAG and funding, I'm sure your staff know there's a 2-year rotation on MAG funding, and it used to be that trails took a really good priority because of the air quality issue. So a lot of the trails get voted high when you go to the MAG funding. There's also a Safe Routes to School fund that's done through UDOT, which you have access to, and there's also a county corridor preservation fund. And all those things, like I said, your staff probably know about, but it takes being ahead of those. But those are all up to you or there for you. So, and regarding making changes on a trails map, we can work with Vendel, and they're just lines on a map that, we can make sure it's correct.
I appreciate that, John. I think if we leverage all those other opportunities, those are taxes that all of our taxpayers pay anyway, that I think we ought to be going for and leveraging, and it does add the connectivity to the trail system. It's not just a way to provide sidewalks, but it does provide the connectivity for that alternative transportation.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Mayor, with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the transportation element of the general plan as presented by staff and Horrock Engineers.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Shelton. Do I have a second?
Is there a resolution in front of you to adopt? I apologize.
No, you're good. So I'll move to adopt the resolution as presented to the council.
So I have a motion by Councilman Shelton, a second by Councilmember Barnes. Any discussion on this motion? Any other things? Councilman Taylor, do you have any other input? Okay. What's that? I'll allow public comment.
I appreciate letting me up here. I'll make this brief. Most of you guys know me. You've heard us talk about this many times. A couple of you are new and don't know us very well. Lamps, all reds. We're out on 2nd South, out on the west side. This study, this shows putting the roads right through us instead of keeping the roads where they have already been pre-approved, the money's already been spent. Vineyard Connector should stay where it's supposed to be. Money's been spent. It's already been approved. How many millions of dollars of taxpayer money are we going to waste looking for somewhere else? I don't think you're going to fix the problem by pushing it farther west like that. I mean, you've got a connector down there on the south end going around the bottom and going out, which I assume would probably be the Pony Express. Make it go out the Pony Express then. You don't need to come through the middle of farms that don't plan on developing, that aren't going anywhere. We've been there 100 years. You're avoiding people that bought property 2-3 years ago, knowing the road was going through their property, and avoiding them and going through property that we plan on keeping farm ground into perpetuity. I know you were alluding to that this is a work in progress, and I appreciate that, and will be a thorn in your sides. So
Well, I think that's part of that study is looking at forcing it south to that Pony Express.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think that I would love for a better way to collaborate. It's been one of my frustrating points, and part of this is UTA is part of the discussion as well. And so that's my goal. I really appreciate Mayor Frost spending a lot of time with me on this, trying to look at alternative options, and I'm sure working with neighboring towns as well, because this is going to be a major project.
Yeah,
that's
it
gonna
affects
include all of
Lehigh. It
that.
affects everybody.
Right.
Well, the only other thing I was going to mention about this is I'd like to see more east-west mass transit. I don't see any, I wouldn't say heavy rail, but you know, something of that line going out west could really alleviate a lot.
I don't disagree. I think we've referenced
Thank
the
you.
Utah University study in 2060 that shows that there's going to be more people living in Utah County than in Salt Lake County. And I just think you got I-215, I-80, Bangor Highway, all is great east-west connectors, and I can't think of one good east-west connector in Utah County. So I think the only way we can accomplish to get around is going to be alternative transportation for sure.
Thanks for that comment, Ty. Appreciate it. Do you have anything, John? Did you have your hand up there?
I just was pointing to the second alternative, or the alternative that gentleman just mentioned. We are presenting the this image here that goes to Pony Express. So this document doesn't have a priority or a single one that they approved or want. There's two as an option, and the city can work out that with the landowners. So I just was pointing that out up on the screen.
Okay. Councilmember Barnes.
If I might just make one comment, Vendeline, if you'll blow that back up a little bit, especially the little box in the bottom left as we look at it. This kind of refers to my comment earlier. There's some circles there. For those that are not familiar, and I just barely learned this, I think those are roundabouts, correct? We don't have a lot of roundabouts in American Fork. And this does not mean there will be a roundabout there, nor does it mean up above that it'll be a straight shot or a street light or whatever. This is that idea that these are just some things to think about and work on, the working document in progress and everything else. So hopefully nobody has the idea that this is in any way, shape, or form a done deal. And I'm sure there'll be maybe thousands, but at least hundreds of discussions about how this is going to develop in the future. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All right. Hearing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Chris Jansen.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Okay, action item number 9 is review and action on a resolution approving an interlocal agreement with Utah County regarding the reconstruction of the SR 92 Canyon Road intersection. David, you want to take the lead on this one, please?
You bet. Thank you, Mayor. So in cooperation with Utah County, they have put out to bid a project to reconstruct Canyon Road from SR 92 all the way down to Pleasant Grove State Street. And so as part of those improvements, the county will be improving the intersection at the mouth of the canyon, and that is where the city's chlorinator station sits. And also, the city has the intention to redo the pipeline underneath that section of roadway at this time. So in cooperation with the county, we're working on this interlocal agreement so that we can get those improvements installed or moved at this time as part of the work that the county is doing. So that's what's before you tonight.
Any further questions? I think we kind of went over this in our work session as well.
I have a question on section 4, the part 2 where it says entity shall. The last one says pay county for the work performed. There you go. And improvements installed in conjunction with the road project. Do we need to specify or that those need to be approved or something? They could put a 4-lane freeway in there or something. We'd have to pay for it.
So it's specifically the water line improvements there, and we could put in there and water line improvements installed. That would clarify that.
Okay, do we need, I think, yeah, we've already provided the design and accepting. Okay, I see. So those would be accepted already.
Yeah.
Okay. Satisfied with that language, council member? All right. All right, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with Utah County for the reconstruction of SR 92 Canyon Road intersection.
Thank you for that motion, Council Member Shelton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Council Member Christiansen. Any discussion? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. Council Member Christiansen.
Aye.
Council Member Shelton.
Aye.
Council Member Barnes.
Aye.
Council Member Carroll.
Aye.
Council Member Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. Action item number 10 is a review and action on an approval of a reimbursement agreement with Lakeview Farms LLC for the Lakeview Farms subdivision. Scott, you have maybe a little lead in on this one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is a relatively straightforward, and I hate to use the word routine, but it really is kind of a routine agreement that we do enter into many with our developments. This is to reimburse that developer for some work that we have requested, and it's been part of the works to have upsized and some improvements that they've made. So I really stand if there's any questions, and I'll do my best to get into the answers with you. So is the work done already? This is for no, this is not. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I seemed to indicate that it was, but no, this is work for. Sure. Yeah, it is not. So this is in advance of the work. Correct. The way it's supposed to be.
That's good. I'm guessing that there has to be some kind of a sign-off that the proper procedures followed, and you guys will be on.
That is correct. We will inspect this, review it, make sure that the improvements are done right, that they're to standard, the agreement's followed, and so forth.
Scott, did they gotta pay? They don't have to go to the center line. They just gotta go to where the asphalt ends at this point. Is that right? Councilman Shelton, I'm embarrassed. I'm trying to remember the details, but I thought that I'm pretty sure we are going to the center line. But And And how big of a patch are we looking at there? Is it 100 feet? Are we looking
No, it's
at?
longer than that. It's quite a bit. The road in that particular area is in pretty bad shape. It really is in awful shape, and so it's not going to be a clean cut. It's kind of, in other words, if there's an area where they're getting up close to the edge and of where they're supposed to go, but they need to adjust that a little bit. We'll be working with them a lot in the field, making those calls in the field. But it's a couple of 100 feet long that they're making. I don't know if you were looking at length or width, which question you were asking me, but length, it's several hundred feet. It's the length of the subdivision. And I'm sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head exactly the length of it.
Okay.
And Elaine, isn't there a chart in there? I'm trying to find it. I thought there was a chart in there. Maybe it was one of the others that indicated the length of it. So maybe something smarter than me can find it faster.
The other question that I had is, as you take,
So it's got a square foot dimension, but I don't remember the length or the width exactly. But
so here's my
that's a
question.
total
What it's
area.
leading to? Are we butting up? So we did 1120 North a while ago. We put that bridge in and everything like that. Does this butt up against that newer addition?
Yes.
So my worry is this. We did this thing called pay as you go with the roads, right? That's what was told to us to be able to do. And you can even tell by the asphalt color there the difference in when that was constructed. So if we just go to center line, I think that would do us a disservice, because now we're going to have a half a road that's going to have a brand new RSL of 20 years, and we're going to have another half of road that has an RSL of -2, to be honest with you. That road has been well utilized. Why wouldn't we want to be, and you can see the patchwork that's there already. Thanks, Venolin, for bringing that up. Why not go all the way with this reimbursement agreement to the other side of the curb? Then when we come back to do the protective treatments, you're going that extra 200 feet, and it would seem like that would increase our savings a little bit more, get a bit of bang for a buck. That's kind of how my mind works a little bit. If they're already going to be in there, is it going to be that much more to grind up the other half of the road? And now we got a nice new road for an extra 200 feet versus half a road that's good and half a road that's bad.
Councilman Shelton, I do know that for the year one of the road plan, that's actually a section of the street that we're looking at, because you're right, you're maybe being a little generous if you say -2. It's pretty bad, and I think we all acknowledge that. So, I don't know how that would work in terms of including that in this agreement, but no question from our engineering standpoint, that needs to be done. Whether we do it as part of the year road plan work or include in this.
Well, when you're laying road and you're putting a seam in, it would seem better to do it all at once than come back in, and then you're going to put a grinder on a new road, and it seems like we're wasting resources. Why not be able to put it? Now, I don't know how much it is to get a grinder out there, and that's a cost on our own, but I'd love to investigate that. Maybe feel good moving forward with this, but I would love to have a serious investigation on that. If we need to bring that back in 2 weeks to look at that, I would love to. And then just look as other projects happen, because we're going to have this all throughout the city. I know that my biggest frustration is it happened on 1100 North up by Bob Carlisle's farm, and we left this ugly patch. And you got an RSL of 20 on one side, and you got an RSL of 2 on the other side. And we're not going to go in there anytime, and that's just going to cause deterioration.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thanks for that.
Thank you.
I think if we're talking about approving this, I would say let's direct staff to come back with an additional change, or at least let's review the math and what it would take to do that full section. That is a critical corridor. I mean, I think the neighbors out there are probably going to jump for joy knowing that is now going to be complete and wide. And then even down, I think is it 570 that'll come up to it, and that'll
Correct.
improve just the connectivity of that area so much better than what they've had in years past. But so. Are you suggesting just moving forward with this, and then maybe come back with even additional monies and
I'm okay
find
just
out what we
because I'm
can?
sure wasn't there other things underground improvements we had to do.
Yeah.
some upsizing. So I think we're a couple weeks away from asphalt. I'm thinking pour asphalt right now.
No.
But I feel good going forward with this, and then let's negotiate with the developer and see if that's something that makes sense to come back with. If you're okay with that, Mayor.
That's good. All right, I'll entertain a motion as such. All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Taylor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Christiansen. Any discussion on the motion?
Just clarify, we're doing the suggested motion as presented. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Great.
suggested motion.
Not the postponement.
That's no, right. The suggested motion. Is that correct, Councilman Taylor?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Christiansen.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll. Aye. Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Item number 11 is a review and action on the award of a contract for the 2017 CDBG Culinary Waterline Replacement Project Phase 6 to Cody Ecker Construction. We're moving right along in these waterline replacements. I love to see them. I really do. So is there any questions for Scott on the bid process?
I do have one question. Is this typical for the budget for these? How does it fit in? Is it a normal? Is it depend on the length of the? I'm just wondering how it compares to other years.
Certainly. From what I understand, and of course I'm sorry I don't have the history of the other years, but that this is a little bit higher than it had been in past years. A lot of it depends on how much we're able to get through the CDBG grant. A significant amount of this is city money. It is matched and in fact overmatched. One of the things that does help us quite greatly when we apply for the different phases of the CDBG money is to be able to show as a city that we're putting some skin in the game as well. And so there's a point system. When we overmatch over the minimum, it ranks higher. You put in more, you get more. In this particular case, it's probably quite a bit overmatched because of the way, the bid was structured. The way the bid was structured in terms of additive alternates is something that I'm looking at very closely and going to be making some changes. It's not really the way I would like to do it. I'll just say that. And I want to make sure that we tailor all future applications, as we already have the next round. We've already applied for the next round. And the way we're going to be tailoring that bid, the application in terms of the base bid, the ad alternate, and how we review it and how it's structured is going to be very different.
You know, this is a legacy that began with Mayor Hadfield. I mean, he started this process, he caught on to it, and he was very, very persistent in obtaining these funds, and has blessed our city greatly because of it. So, any other questions for Scott?
Just want to note, I mean, we're not just doing culinary lines, but as we look at it here, you're looking at new fire hydrants. I remember a few years ago when we did this, and we just barely got the project done, and there was a fire at that home, and they were able to use that new fire hydrant. Had that not been there, we would have probably, I assume, Chief, had more severe and even a structural loss on that home. So, you know, and this doesn't just go for culinary drinking, but public safety as well. In honor of Mayor Hadfield, can someone explain ductile iron for me?
Ductile iron is a common material used in a lot of drinking water. It's iron, but it's not cast iron. Cast iron is quite often what you see in your skillets and so forth. It's actually cast iron's a little bit more brittle. This is it is not so brittle. It has a lot more give and play. It's common material used in drinking water lines and in water lines in general.
Would this be the same that we're putting up the canyon?
No.
Or would it be different?
No, what we're looking at putting up the canyon is a high-density polyethylene.
That's the difference.
Which is plastic, HDPE, high-density polyethylene. It's a really good material as well that I like. One of the things that Mayor Hatfield asked me to look into while he was still mayor, and it's something I feel strongly about too, is looking closely at the materials that we allow. Right now, we've pretty much been limiting ductile iron. That's something that there's a lot of other materials out there besides ductile iron that are very good, time-tested, proven materials for water lines. And so as we're doing our internal review on our specifications, our development code, those are some of the very things we're going to be looking at closely.
But you have no concern with ductile iron on this project for this?
I have
scope?
no concern. Ductile iron's a great product. It's just, and it's what we use now. It's what I recommend we continue with, but we are going to be looking at other materials allowing as well.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to accept the bid submitted by Cody Ecker Construction, Inc. for the construction of the 2017 CDVG culinary water line replacement project, Phase 6, in the amount of $447,300, and authorize the mayor to enter into the contract as part of the bid documents.
Thank you for that motion, Councilmember Carroll. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Shelton. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Christiansen.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Okay. Items number 12, 13, and 14 have been pulled from this agenda on consent of the applicant and working with the mayor. And so they're all interrelated. And so I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Do we need to motion to table those, or can they just be stricken from the agenda?
I think they can just be stricken. Yeah. 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 So anyway, does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn,
Yes.
or would you like to stay here all night long?
I will motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you, Councilman Taylor.